Alright guys, I'm out here at Trona Pinnacles out in Southern California. It's desert as you can see, and I thought I would give you some desert hiking tips. Now, I thru-hiked the PCT in 2017, and 700 miles of that is through desert in Southern California. I've also done a lot of hiking in the Grand Canyon and other parts of Arizona. So my first tip is to wake up early. If you wake up early, you rule the day. If you wake up late, the day rules you. By waking up early, a little bit before sunrise, you give yourself a lot of options throughout the day. And you get to enjoy that beautiful desert sunrise, which is always great. My next hint is to hike at the ends of the day. That's when it's coolest. So that early morning time and just before sunset into the evening, that's a great time to hike. You're more efficient because you're using less water, perspiring less for the amount of miles you're doing. My next tip is to learn how many miles you can typically hike on a liter of water. Now this is just an average and it can be affected by the grade of the climb you're doing, how much shade there is. But if you learn like I did about 4 or 5 miles on 1 liter of water, then you can actually plan how much water you need to carry from one water source to the next, and of course give yourself some room for error in there. Next tip is to siesta. If you wake up early, you've already put in a good amount of miles for the day. You can stop at 1, have your lunch, and siesta right through till about 4, and then get up and start hiking again. And if this is the summer, you still have a lot of time after that siesta to put in some extra miles. It's a great time to chill out with your friends, to bond with the people you meet on trail, and a really great way not to be suffering throughout the heat of the day. Next tip is when you get to a water source, dunk your hat, wet your shirt to help cool yourself down while you're hiking. It's a great way to help control your temperature and help your body, release more heat. And make sure to camel up. Eat some salty snacks and then drink, as much water as you can, 0.7 liters or a liter. And it's great because you're carrying that water in your body, not on your back, and making sure that you're well hydrated. Next is sun protection. You really want to take this seriously, and yeah, sunscreen's great, but I suggest that you get a wide-brimmed hat or one of those desert hiking hats, have long sleeves, some very light, airy pants to wear in the desert, and maybe even sun gloves, and then you can sunscreen your face. It's a great way to protect yourself, and you really don't want to get burned out there in the sun, especially early on in a backpacking trip or hike on the PCT. You really want to take care of your skin. Your skin will thank you later. Next tip is how to choose a sleeping site. You really want to be careful about popping your pad. You can have huge swings of temperature in the desert, blazing hot during the day and really cold at night. And for me, what I did on the PCT was I took a closed cell foam pad, a Thermarest Z-Lite, through the desert portion. I prefer an air pad, but I didn't want to pop it. So with that foam pad, you don't have to worry about it. If you are going to have a blow-up pad, make sure you have a ground sheet for your tent. Or if you're going to cowboy camp, put down the ground sheet, put down your tent, and put your sleeping pad over that. Really be choosy. There's a lot of, pokey things in the desert, and you don't want to be sleeping on the hard ground. Another tip is for LNT. No one likes to see a mummy poop on the side of the trail. If you don't know, a mummy poop is a poop, it's just been plopped there, it's been dehydrated, now it's all crusty like a mummy, and it's just going to stay there for years. It's really gross. You should be burying your poop 4 to 6 inches below ground in the desert. And I always packed out my toilet paper. I suggest everyone does that. If you don't, the animals, coyotes, whatnot, will dig it up, and they'll just be dirty toilet paper on the side of the trail. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves and a real eyesore out there. And my final tip is, if you have good, reliable information on water sources, don't be afraid to dry camp. A lot of times people camp at the water source, and you get there, especially on the PCT in the beginning, there's like 10, 15 tents. And if that's your thing, that's great. But if you want to, have a little more of a wilderness experience, just go to the water source, take enough water to get to the next one, a liter to cook and whatever, make hot cocoa at night. And oftentimes water sources, they're not the most beautiful campsite. So, I like to choose my campsite based on beauty. So I dry camped pretty often. and had success doing it, so don't be afraid to do that. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the tips for desert hiking. If you guys have another tip, I'm sure there's a bunch more out there. Leave them in the comments. Let me know if you like this video, and subscribe for future hiking tip videos and stuff about the PCT and other long trails.